Okay, I don't know if you can see through the camera, but you may have noticed that jumping to the top of the crown of this tree, I don't have my outlines as strong. I'm not allowing my outlines to show up as vividly as I have certainly down here, or even for that matter over there. This branch coming forward is getting stronger again. I may have to strengthen this, but I may not. I'm giving myself a bit of a safety net here because I want this to fade off and become a little bit weaker, because this branch, which is going to have to be very strong, very present visually, will need to contrast that. So the strong lines again will come into these branches coming from these two trunks. And by the time that's done, I don't think anybody, with the exception of you, to whom I have pointed it out, would even notice it. Okay? So that's just a, because this is adjacent to this, I want this to stand out strongly. So I've kind of faded the drama off, at least on the crown of this tree. Brought the drama back in down here, but we're in our focal area. The difference between our high and low values, high and low chromas, sits within these trees at its greatest here. Second here, third there, fourth there, fifth here, right? Focal area, keeping it sharp and strong. Not worrying as much not worrying too much about that as we move away from the center of the focal area. Anyway, I'm very happy to be closing in on finishing up with these deciduous trees. It's a chore at this point. I'm enjoying it and I shouldn't complain. Actually, I'm not complaining. It's work, that's all. So, you remember Zorro? I liked him, I like this sort of zzz. But because of the way this is all working out, it would tend to exclude a bunch of this. And I would like to extend this light further to the right. I'd like to open it up. I don't want to open it up to the left. This is more important on the right hand side. So what I'm going to do is, instead of this being darker, which looks great now, I'm going to splash light on this sliver of land, thus continuing this light across here, and it will pull up this. It'll pull up on this trunk as well, and I'll probably dim it as it gets further north, so to speak. Let's see how that works. But I think that what that's going to do is allow it's just going to allow the eye to look further past this area. Another thing I'm going to do is I'm going to lay some stronger reflection on these rocks. Not from light that's coming over my left shoulder and behind me, where you are. Well, actually, mostly above. As you can see, the light's pretty high in the sky. But to pick up the light from here and just catch, the tops of the rocks, help to define them. That'll help to add interest to this area. So, let me I'll zoom in, because that seems to be a bit of a winning way of doing things with you guys, popularity wise. I know that a lot of people like to see what's going on up close, at least with the knife. So let's see, I'm really getting down on my cad yellow pale. I'd still like to use some, but it's not the first color I want to mix. I think I'd like to start with something in this neighborhood, which to me looks like yellow ochre, and just a touch of ultramarine blue, and let's warm it up with a little bit of burnt sienna. See what happens when we do that. Yeah, that's an okay start. It's still a little bit low in value. Okay, a little more yellow ochre. Warm it up. No more ultramarine blue. I'm going to be daring and put a little bit of cad yellow pale and a bit of titanium white in it now. Nope, I'm being a chicken. Okay, more cad yellow pale and burnt sienna. And of course, debris gets involved. It just has to get involved. How's that? That's okay. Let's not go there just yet, though. Let's kind of have to be careful. You know, you push your knife against the canvas and you roll it to begin an edge. But when you roll it, sometimes you squeeze paint out the top when you really just want paint coming out of the bottom. Okay, we are really, I'm toning it down just slightly now because we're going up against this bush. It's really going to help shift a little bit of the interest to the right hand side. I kind of like that idea. I'm softening that line a little bit, running my knife sharply along it. Running it up strokes like this because it's, you know, it's a bit of a, well, maybe it's not even a bit of a hillock, it's just kind of how I'd like to run the colors. There, but this was already pretty muted, and you know, I was tempted to put a lot of light behind here, but it would just be a very thin sliver of high value, high chroma stopping right there. I like the idea that if I lay this light in here down below, then I end up with, we end up with it terminating in an indentation on the bush. So it just helps to not stop the color but blend it a little bit. A little easier on the eyes, a little more gentle. Is that too orangey? That might be too orange. A little bit too heavy on the burnt sienna maybe. Okay, we're going to yellow ochre, cad yellow pale. That makes us greener. I'll scrape that excess off. That's not what I'm after. Now I want to transition from here to here. I don't want this just to be too strong, but let's just keep doing this and we'll see what happens. Because we do want light catching here and going up onto the trunk. Okay, I think I'm being a little, maybe a little too courageous with my colors at the moment. It's a mistake I make often. So rather than being too courageous, I'm going to be a bit of a chicken and I'm going to lay in back to the yellow ochre, ultramarine blue, and burnt sienna. Okay, it's more of a neighbor to this. I'm going to do a little bit of carving here. fussing too much. I really am. It's not great, but hopefully it'll work out. Okay, hint of ultramarine blue again. I know that you'll hear in my dialogue, I contradict myself constantly, but that's because I'm constantly making decisions as I'm laying colors in. And I'm not feeling guilty about that, because I don't know everything. I feel myself, I feel my way through these things as I'm painting them. And I'm sure that most people do. Sometimes I just hate how hard it is to load this knife. It's a little harder to control the load on this knife because the blade's so skinny. Okay, I think that's not too bad. Still sticking with yellow ochre and a bit of red sienna. It's just, I do not want to make the mistake of going too high a value just yet. I just don't want to do it. It's never been a good idea. Sorry guys, I know this is very tedious and slow going, but if I have to suffer this torture, so do you. Well, you don't have to. You can just skip. You don't have to watch it all. Or you can skip ahead, see how it worked out. But you know I like to whine. Back to more yellow ochre and a bit of this cad yellow pale in there as well. Okay, I'm just going to take a step back because I'm not seeing it as clearly as I'd like to. Well, it's not bad. I don't think it's great, but it's not bad. For some reason, I feel the need to re-establish the line right here. And I think okay, a bit generous with that yellow. I'm going to reserve that for I'll put it this way, it's not the kind of thing you should do surreptitiously. You should sort of think that through, and I'm getting a bit cocky right now. And these strokes are getting smaller and weaker. Frustration of using this knife sometimes. You know, you lay your knife in at a certain angle and it applies paint. You change that angle by 1 degree and it scrapes paint off. And then you sit here and whine about it and you go, why are you making mistakes? Yeah, whatever. Suck it up, princess. Okay. I'm talking to myself now, okay? I'm not trying to be rude to you, I'm just talking to myself because I do tend to whine. See, made that weak. Just pathetic. Scrape it off. Don't know where that came from. My goodness. Maybe I should just quit while I'm ahead here. Oh man. Okay. Okay, time to take a step back. No, that's not too bad. But this is looking a bit unnatural, you know. Yes, there can be different foliage on this little raised area. Well, I think I'd like to breach this line and cut into here a little bit. So that's what I'm going to do. But I'm going to scrape all of my cad yellow pale off of my palette before I do that, because cad yellow pale, you mix cad yellow pale into ultramarine blue or cobalt blue, you end up with a very garish green, which is fine if you're using it in the appropriate places on the right kind of painting. But on this painting, it's nowhere else. It's only here. So I got to be very careful with it. So I have to do a blend of some sort here. That's a bit harsh. Maybe I should go greener. And what happens when I do that? Back to that. Alright, that's fair enough. Maybe I'll just add some titanium white to it. Bring the value up, eh? don't have to match the colors that are on here. I just don't want them to seem foreign to each other, that's all. Okay. Well, we're heading in the right direction, I think, now. That's what it takes sometimes, you know? It can be frustrating. And, just really want to nail it a certain way, eh? Let me take a step back because I think that might just have done the job. Yeah, I like that this light goes back into here. That works okay for me. It works well, in my opinion. I'm still not too fond of this line. So I might just obliterate it here in a few spots, eh? Any harm in that? I don't think so. I'd rather it looked as though it was, this grassy area was catching a bit of light on this little sort of ridge, rather than separating that ridge from the rest of the painting, you know, it's just making it sort of its own area. Okay, I think I might just call it at that. And what do we do? Yeah, I think we'll just bring that right up the trunk. You know, another splash of light in addition to everything we have to the left. I'm just going to back the camera out because once again I'm waving my arms around like a maniac and you can't see what I'm talking about. See, it kind of connects this to this a little bit. And I like that. I like that notion. You know, yes, the light's coming from the left upper, but here begins just another sliver, another splash. Up we go. Blah blah blah. Getting emotional. I'm gonna cry. Anyway, I think that's an improvement. Every time we touch it, we want to improve it. Well, this is a Tuesday video, which I might publish tonight, which is Monday. Unless I don't, in which case I'm wrong.